So, how do we do this in a literature paper? There's several different kinds of secondary sources that you can bring in to support your argument. Let's look at a few. Probably the gold standard for any department across the curriculum in college is the peer-reviewed journal. In literature, there are definitely peer-reviewed journals of literary analysis and journals of Shakespeare studies and even journals about different kinds of novel writing or fiction and short stories and journals of poetry and journals of songwriting even. These are all journals that have to go through the peer-reviewed process. And what that is that you submit a paper as a scholar, a jury of your peers reads it, and then they get back to you and say, this is pretty good, we're going to publish it. Or maybe they say, you need some improvements here, and we question your argument there, and you go back and you revise, just like you would for me. And then you submit it to the jury, and then they might give you the green light, and you get published, and you get a lots of respect from your colleagues at your university or college where you work. So that's the gold standard. But if you can't find a peer reviewed journal article about the novel or the play that you're writing about or the poem, then maybe you want to get a New York Times book review written by somebody who's pretty respected about the novel that you read or the play that you watched. And maybe you're going to get a quote from the author himself or herself. That's a really good source. It's an insight into the way that the author has written the book. So maybe the author is talking about character development and your argument is about character development. That's a good place to go, directly to the author. So there's a lot of different kinds of secondary sources you could use. And if you don't find anything from the author, you don't find anything from a newspaper, you don't find anything from a peer-reviewed journal of literature, there's still hope. Maybe you find a good quote about the topic that you're writing about. So, for instance, the novel is about depression and how this character in the novel is dealing with depression. Maybe the character's considering suicide, or maybe the character has lost all of his friends due to this problem that he has. You can quote a peer-reviewed journal of psychology about the behavior of people who are suffering from depression to support your argument about whether this is a good piece of literature, whether it's accurate, whether it's substantial, whether it portrays the character in a realistic way. Maybe you want to criticize the writing and say, this isn't very good, it's not accurate. No real person would do this. That's okay too. I hope that makes sense. And if you have any problems at all in finding secondary sources to support your analysis of a piece of literature, don't hesitate to send me an email, okay?